My fiancé Leon and I had been together for 5 years. At our engagement party, he stood up in front of everyone and said he wanted to marry my sister instead. The reason? My sister Lily had provoked Ethan, the infamous and violent prince of the capital. Leon claimed that the daughter of the Jiang family must marry him. He was afraid that if Lily married Ethan, she'd be bullied and mistreated. So, in his mind, the noble thing to do was to marry her himself and protect her from that fate. I stood there at the banquet, stunned and awkward, as Leon pointed straight at me and said, "You've waited so many years, what's a little longer? My relationship with your sister is just a performance. Wait another 3 to 5 years, and I'll come to marry you, Evelyn." He said Ethan had already lost 2 wives and asked, "Can you really bear to see your own sister marry him?" But he forgot one thing. If my sister didn't go, then it would be me who had loved him for 5 years being forced to marry Ethan instead. Later on, I did end up marrying Ethan. And ironically, we held our engagement ceremony at the very same hotel. That day, I wore a pure white dress again, standing beside someone else this time, watching from a distance as the ever-graceful Leon fell heavily to the ground, reaching out to me like a desperate man. I simply smiled and said, "Happy engagement." When I told my mom I agreed to marry Ethan, everything went silent. She asked me in a trembling voice if I had truly thought it through. I understood why she was so shocked. I had loved Leon for 5 years, and just when we were about to walk down the aisle, he boldly announced at the engagement party that he would marry my sister instead. Upon hearing the news, my parents were nearly driven mad with anger. They raised their hands to strike Lily, but Leon stepped in and protected her fiercely. "If I don't marry her, she'll have to marry Ethan," he said. "Don't you know Ethan is a sadist? He's already killed 2 wives. How can you bear to push your own daughter into the fire?" My mother scolded angrily. If she hadn't shamelessly provoked Ethan, how could this trouble have happened? My sister Lily has always been determined to find a wealthy man. Knowing Ethan's reputation and ruthless methods, she still went out of her way to provoke him. She believed her beauty could conquer such a man. But Ethan nearly took her life. Terrified, she ran back home, and the next day, the Jiang family received a marriage proposal from the Ji family. Ethan was demanding Lily's hand. He made it clear that if the Jiang family refused, he would make them his rival. With the background the Jiang family had, there was no way they could stand against Ethan. If they refused, it would lead to bankruptcy and ruin, leaving them with nothing. Hundreds of employees depended on the family business, so my parents had no choice but to compromise. But Leon didn't seem to care about any of that. He said, "Lily and I will get engaged first, then Ethan won't be so aggressive." My mother looked at him, then at me, hesitantly asking, "But what about Evelyn? If you get engaged to Lily, and your younger sister doesn't go through with the marriage alliance, then it will naturally be me who goes." Leon frowned. "Is this really the time to pressure me into marriage for Evelyn? Can't we wait a few more years? She's already waited 5. What more is there to wait for?" I replied quietly, "Who in the Beijing circle doesn't know about our relationship? Are you afraid I might run away? Evelyn, you really look terrible when you want to get married." I shuddered all over, looking at Leon in disbelief. Never did I expect the man I had loved for 5 years to say something like that. He saw my pale face and realized he'd gone too far. "That's not what I meant," he said urgently. "Evelyn, Lily is your sister. I can't just stand by and watch her die." I stared blankly at him. He had changed so much. No longer the man I once knew. I met Leon in college. He fell in love with me at first sight and pursued me relentlessly. Over time, I gradually developed feelings for him, and we started a relationship. During those early years, Leon truly cared for me. He remembered every one of my menstrual cycles, knew all my preferences, and even handled certain things for me discreetly. He always said he wanted to give me the grandest wedding possible. I kept waiting, believing we would be happy forever, until my sister returned from studying abroad, and everything changed. Since childhood, whenever something belonged to me, Lily liked to snatch it and then destroy it. Ever since she came back to the country, she showed a great interest in Leon. At first, Leon ignored her, and I tried to avoid situations where they might meet. But gradually, I noticed them getting closer. I talked to Leon, reminding him that Lily was my sister and that he should be mindful of the boundaries. Lily immediately turned red-eyed and said, "Sister, I'm your biological sister. Lily is my brother-in-law now. Do you really need to guard against me like this? If I really make you that uneasy, I won't come over anymore." Leon immediately put on a stern face. "Evelyn, you've gone too far. As the older sister, you should be taking care of your younger sister. But what have you done? You've spread rumors about her several times, saying she's not good enough. Only someone like me would dare marry someone like you." From then on, Leon told everyone that I was jealous and possessive. I could only step back and endure little by little until today, my own engagement party, when Leon was holding Lily's hand instead of mine. He looked at me cruelly and said, "Evelyn, I can't possibly ignore Lily." I stood frozen in place, watching them leave hand in hand, the engagement party in chaos around me. Relatives whispered behind my back, "After so many years of being together, I couldn't even keep a man. My sister stole my boyfriend. This family isn't doing well at all. What are we going to do now? Lily has run away. Who will marry Ethan from the G family?" The young master of the G family said if the Jong family's daughter doesn't marry him, he'll ruin the whole family. There's still one left, me. Little by little, the man who once loved me finally abandoned me, personally pushing me into the abyss. Eventually, my parents sat me down to talk about this marriage. I stumbled out of the auditorium, dazed. When I came out of the restroom, I heard soft, sticky laughter echoing from the hallway. I looked up and saw two familiar figures embracing each other intimately. Leon was still wearing the suit I had chosen for him, and Lily wore a matching white tulle dress, giving them a couple-like appearance. "Don't be afraid. I won't let you marry Ethan," Leon murmured. "But you made my sister so embarrassed today. I feel really sorry for her." "I've been annoyed with her for a long time," Leon frowned. "It's better if she doesn't forgive me. Let's just get married directly." Then he lowered his head and kissed Lily carefully. Movement so cautious, so precious, as if she were an incredibly valuable treasure. It was the first time I saw Leon so infatuated with someone. I stood there, unnoticed, watching him hold her tightly, and I saw Lily give me a provocative smile. That's when I decided I would marry Ethan. Before that, I prepared to get rid of everything related to Leon. In the small apartment filled with our memories, I packed my clothes into a suitcase. There wasn't much, just a few items. After hesitating for a moment, I took out my most cherished item from the wardrobe, a small box that contained all the beautiful memories of us. Leon was someone who valued rituals. He remembered every anniversary and prepared thoughtful gifts for me. He even specially created this box to collect them all, saying, "This is my unrequited love for you." I slowly opened the box but froze instantly. The neatly arranged gifts, once covered in dust-proof bags, were now scattered and broken. Our photos looked as if they had been chewed or crushed, shattered into pieces. The little figure Leon had carved by hand had its head broken off. Everything I once treasured was completely destroyed. I don't know how long I sat there in the living room, long enough for the sun to set, long enough for Leon to return. He turned on the light and was startled to see me sitting there. "Evelyn, what are you doing here?" His words faltered when his eyes landed on the box. A hint of unease flashed across his face. How did it come to this? I smiled bitterly to myself. Did he really not know? But I didn't argue. I calmly held up the box and said, "I'm going out to take out the trash." Seeing this, Leon immediately grabbed my hand and pleaded, "Please don't be angry. When Lily came over with her dog, you weren't home, so I hosted her. I didn't expect her dog to chew some things up. Anyway, these are all old. I can just get you new ones later." I looked at Leon and gently reached out to smooth a creased collar on his shirt, only to find a bright red lipstick mark glaring back at me. He followed my gaze and panicked, slapping my hand away forcefully. Caught off guard, the box slipped from my hands and crashed to the floor. Inside was a glass lamp, now shattered into pieces. I felt a sharp pain on the top of my foot as blood began to seep out. But Leon, who used to be so caring, ignored my injury. Instead, he focused solely on the broken glass, muttering, "How could you be so careless? You broke a perfectly good lamp." At that moment, I felt utterly exhausted. I casually apologized and said, "It's my fault. You go ahead and deal with it. I'll head back first." Leon stopped complaining and hesitated as he looked at me. Indeed, if it were before, I would have definitely confronted him, demanded answers, fought for the truth. But now, I simply turned around without hesitation and walked out of this home that never truly belonged to me. I returned home exhausted, only to find the house filled with relatives. Their faces were tense. One aunt grabbed my hand tightly and wouldn't let go. Another shouted, "You from the Jiang family raised such a shameless daughter. Don't drag us down with you. If she runs away, you have to marry Ethan. Yes, aren't you just in a position where no one wants you right now?" My mother tried hard to defend me, explaining that I had already agreed to marry Ethan, but she was interrupted constantly. If it weren't for Lily's shamelessness in provoking someone, how could Ethan hold a grudge? If he takes revenge on the Jiang family, who can withstand it? Your second daughter deserves it for undermining the eldest. I couldn't take it anymore. Amid the loud curses from my relatives, I finally blurted out, "I'm going to marry Ethan." They quieted down, staring at me with eyes full of relief, hatred, and a hint of disdain. A wave of desolation washed over my heart. Usually during family gatherings, they would praise me for being sensible and obedient since childhood. Back then, if my aunt's child ever bullied me, she would protect me fiercely. But now, she looked at me with the same hateful gaze as the others. Feelings are indeed as thin as paper. I feel utterly drained. Softly I repeated, "I will marry Ethan. My father has already made arrangements with the G family. The engagement is set for early next month." The moment I said I'd marry Ethan, the relatives' expressions immediately changed. Their harsh words softened into polite smiles. They started making excuses, saying things like, "Of course, family matters are complicated, and we understand you're doing what's best." But I didn't want their sympathy or fake kindness. I simply asked my mom to see them out. As they left, my aunt hesitated before speaking. She finally said, "When you get married, live well. Life is long. It doesn't have to end like this." I wanted to laugh at how absurd that sounded. Instead, I just pulled the corners of my mouth into something that looked like a smile. After sending off the last of them, I stood on the street, completely drained. Then I heard footsteps behind me. I looked up and saw a familiar figure standing under a streetlight. Leon. His face was hidden in the shadows, so I couldn't read his expression. He asked coldly, "What marriage? Who's getting married?" I glanced at his hand, which held some bandages and ointment. I didn't want to make things messy, so I answered simply, "A relative came over to deliver an invitation to a wedding next month." He exhaled in relief and nodded. "Okay, Evelyn, I was a bit impulsive today. I've been under a lot of stress lately, and I didn't mean to upset you. I brought some medicine for your foot." Kept my eyes lowered. "If there's nothing else, I'll head back now." "Wait," he said. "At the beginning of next month, I'm having my engagement banquet with Lily. I hope you, along with uncle and aunt, can come. Lily only has you as family, and even if this engagement is just for show, we still need family to be there to bless us." He spoke so logically, almost like not attending would be disrespectful. But he forgot that everyone knew he had been my boyfriend for 5 years. I replied coolly, "Things have been a bit busy at home lately, so I might not have time." "Busy? With wedding preparations?" He raised an eyebrow. "How can that be more important than Lily's engagement party?" He was about to say more when his phone rang urgently. He answered quickly. "Lily, there's a power outage here and I'm scared. Can you come keep me company?" "Power outage. Great, just wait for me. I'll be there soon. Whatever you do, don't open the door. There are people who intentionally pull the switch just to lure others outside." He hung up in a hurry, as if just remembering I was still there. "Evelyn, I'm sorry. I need to check on Lily. She's your sister and I can't just leave her." I didn't respond. He didn't need my answer anyway. He shoved the medicine into my hands and left without hesitation. In the dim alley, I stood alone for a moment before tossing everything into the trash can, just like I was throwing away those 5 years of feelings. The G family spared no expense with the preparations. My engagement ceremony with Ethan was set for early next month. They booked the most luxurious hotel in the city. Rumor had it that because the reservation was rushed, the hotel even broke contracts with other clients. But none of that mattered to me. I didn't know what my future held. I just numbly put on the dress they prepared and let my mom lead me outside. Ethan wore a black suit that day. It was the first time I had seen him in person. When my gaze landed on his sharp brows and intense eyes, I realized why Lily had gone out of her way to provoke him. Even when expressionless, he looked fierce, but undeniably handsome. I wiped away the last tear and reached out to him. He gently took my hand, and I followed him step by step into an unknown future. In the distance, I could hear voices arguing, something about a cancelled engagement banquet. The scene looked oddly familiar, but Ethan gave me a gentle nudge, and I stopped looking. Later I found out that Leon had originally planned to book a banquet hall next door. But half a month ago, the manager called to say the entire hotel had been reserved by someone else, and his booking had to be cancelled. With little time left, Leon hastily moved the event to a smaller hotel nearby. He stood at the entrance for a while, expecting to see me. But when he didn't, he assumed I was being petty and ungrateful. His friend chuckled and asked, "Are you going in? The bride's waiting." Leon frowned. "Don't talk nonsense. I don't like Lily. I'm just helping." His friend hesitated. "What about Evelyn?" Leon thought he was worried I might be angry. He laughed confidently. "Evelyn loves me. She'll never be angry. I'll apologize later, and she'll marry me obediently." But then his friend added carefully, "Aren't you aware? I heard the person getting engaged to Ethan is named Evelyn too." Leon froze. Meanwhile, I followed Ethan through the crowd. Many prominent figures had arrived. I kept a blank smile on my face as people whispered around me. "So, young Master G's fiancé is the eldest daughter of the Jiang family? What a pleasure to meet her. I heard about Lily's engagement half a month ago. Why is there another engagement banquet? Even if you have money, you shouldn't spend it like this." Then came a coarse laugh. I looked up and saw Mr. Barry, the very man who had once tried to buy my father out of business deals. He came from new money and always believed everything could be solved with cash. Back when he tried to bribe my dad to break a contract, Dad refused. Since then, Mr. Barry had become our family's competitor, often resorting to underhanded tactics. Half a month ago, after Leon abandoned me, Mr. Barry was the happiest of all. He even shamelessly offered to make me his mistress. My father threw him out. I never expected to see him at my engagement banquet, but it made sense now. He had climbed his way into the Beijing elite circle. I lowered my head, trying to stay invisible. Ethan had made his demands clear, aimed directly at Lily. But it was me who ended up engaged to him. Mr. Barry must have been delighted to humiliate me publicly. And sure enough, he brought up the past just to provoke Ethan. I glanced at Ethan, seeing his expression darken. I cursed Mr. Barry in my mind but could do nothing. Ethan finally spoke, voice cold. "Mr. Barry, this is my engagement party with Evelyn. From now on she will be my wife. Please respect her as you respect me." He signaled to a guard. "Escort him out." Mr. Barry panicked. "It's a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. I apologize. To my shock, he slapped himself 3 times, hard enough to swell his face. Then the guards dragged him away. I stood frozen, stunned that Ethan had actually defended me. I couldn't help but glance at him cautiously. He caught my look and softened slightly. After a pause, he extended his arm. I linked mine with his and continued walking. As we passed guests, I overheard whispers. Those from New Money lack class. Miss Evelyn is now, after all, Mrs. G. If she doesn't discipline him, who will? Even if we no longer favor the Jiang family, we still have to maintain appearances. Understood. No matter Ethan's original intentions, he now had to protect his reputation. Just then, a bodyguard approached and whispered something to Ethan. You eat something first. I'll be right back, he said. I nodded and watched him go. He returned quickly, but his face looked troubled. He gripped my hand tightly. As the crowd thinned, he led me anxiously back to a private room upstairs. The top-floor suite was spacious, offering a view of the entire city. I barely had time to take it in before I was thrown onto the waterbed. Ethan loosened his tie with some unease. He really was handsome, sharply defined features like they were carved by a knife. His eyes were dark and intense. Just one glance made me nervous, and I dared not look again. I remembered all the rumors about him, about how he had killed 2 wives, and felt a wave of anxiety. The water bed shifted beneath me. I nervously closed my eyes. Moments later, he gently patted my shoulder. Sleep now, he said softly. You've had a busy day. The night light went out, and the room fell silent. I opened my eyes carefully and saw Ethan already asleep. He looked gentler in sleep. I hadn't expected to relax, but somehow in the middle of the night, I rolled into his arms. He wrapped me in a strong, warm embrace, surprisingly comforting. I fell into a deep sleep. The next morning my mom visited. She looked at me with concern. Do you want to meet Leon? I pressed my lips together. I have no relationship with him anymore. Now I'm Ethan's fiancé. She hesitated. I heard that, Ethan. I cut her off gently. Mom, maybe he's not what you think. I can slowly get to know who he really is. But I know exactly who Leon is, I added. I don't want to see him. Just let him go. Mom sighed heavily. It's better this way. It's good to cut ties with him. Then she added, I came to tell you, Leon has cancelled his engagement to Lily. I looked at her in surprise. Cancelled? I repeated, sneering inwardly. Course I could guess why. He must have found out about my engagement to Ethan. Leon always believed I would wait for him, love him forever. But he forgot, when a heart is deeply hurt, it naturally stops loving. I don't know if he regrets his choice now. But I know a man like him, given another chance, would still abandon me on the day of our engagement, just as he abandoned Lily. Maybe not because he loved deeply, but because he sees women as his possessions, untouchable by others. I told my mom, if you think he's damaged the Jiang family's reputation, let Dad deal with him. Mom, I can barely take care of myself. I haven't even regained my own dignity, so I won't help Lily regain hers. Mom gave me an awkward look, apologized softly, and hurried away. I watched her go, feeling an unexpected emptiness settle in my chest. When I was young, because I was the older sister, my parents always taught me to give in to Lily. But Lily had a competitive, grabby nature. My constant yielding didn't bring peace to the family. It only encouraged her to take more of what was mine. At 18, I finally gathered the courage to ask my parents to let me study abroad. Procedures were completed, but in the end, it was Lily who got to go. Before leaving, she came to my room. Sister, I'm sorry, but I also wanted to go. Mom and Dad decided to give the opportunity to me. I casually tossed the plane ticket into the trash. If you want to go, then go. I stood there watching my mother disappear through the door, and I felt something shift inside me. Not anger, not sadness, just clarity. For so long I had been the good daughter, the patient lover, the forgiving sister. I gave and gave, expecting nothing but kindness in return. But kindness is not guaranteed in this world. Only choices are. And from now on mine were simple. Protect myself first. A few days after the engagement, Ethan and I sat across from each other at breakfast. He didn't talk much, and neither did I. But unlike Leon, his silence wasn't cold. It was steady like a storm that had already passed. He looked up suddenly and said, "You don't have to see her again, you know." I knew who he meant. I smiled faintly. "I know." Leon tried reaching out once more after Lily ended things with him. Confused, desperate, maybe even regretful. But by then I had already changed the locks, deleted his number, and erased his presence from my life like a bad dream finally waking up. Lily. She disappeared for a while, then re-emerged months later with a new boyfriend, a new look, and the same old hunger in her eyes. But I no longer cared. Not about her games, not about her jealousy, not about any of it. The Jiang family. We survived. Not unscathed but stronger. My father rebuilt what was damaged. My mother learned to let go of guilt, and I found peace in walking away. Ethan and I never promised each other love. But we gave each other something rare. Understanding, protection, and a second chance. People still talk, of course. They always do. About how Evelyn Jiang married the feared prince of the capital. How she lost everything then somehow didn't. But here's the truth they'll never understand. I didn't lose anything. I chose to leave behind what no longer served me. The lies, the heartbreak, the illusion of loyalty. And in choosing myself I gained everything. So yes, my story started with betrayal. But it ends with power.